All right, we are live. We are live. We are live. My name is Tawanda Fisher. I'm so excited to have everyone here on tonight, wherever you are in the United States. We're glad for you to log in. This is episode 2 of Real Live Talk with about real estate and finances. And tonight our topic is about homeowners insurance. So if you're tuning in, share the live. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And TikTok, you may not be able to see the whole screen, so I'll be able to give a few with our comments. So let me just give you a little background information tonight. Okay, here we go. California wildfires have been making headlines, leaving the nation stunned by the vast extent of the damages that they have caused. While the full financial burden of the fires will probably take years for us to find out, there are some things that maybe we can do to prep us if something like this was to happen in our neighborhoods. And here's a quote. According to CBS News, thousands of Los Angeles homeowners had their policies canceled before the fire. In the wake of these disasters, many people are left with nothing but the clothes on their backs, and our heart goes out to them. So we all know someone who may live in the California area or who may be affected. However, even though we are in Texas or we may be in various parts of the world, this is giving us the opportunity to sit back and look and ask those questions that we all think that we need to know for homeowners insurance, not just for a fire, but if someone was to fall on your home at your property, how do you handle those things? So tonight, we are glad to have Ms. Avery Dean. I reached out to her. She's with Goosehead Insurance, and I was so excited for her to tell me yes. So I just want to welcome you to my channel. I am a real estate agent in the DFW area. I help people fish out great information so that they can buy, sell, or invest with confidence. I'm a fisher. That's just what I do. So I teach people to fish information out. So often people are so burdened with the process of home buying. And so I noticed that as they're doing their home buying, there's that little piece called home insurance. And so when it's given to you and you don't know how to properly select it, it can leave buyers feeling overwhelmed. So that's part of my journey for this year is teaching people about the home buying process and bringing in great people such as yourself. So thank you so much for coming in. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show, Tawanda. I'm super excited to be here. But a little bit about me. So I'm an insurance broker. I work for Goosehead. We're actually headquartered in DFW as well. So, I mean, I sell insurance to, or I bind with over 50 A-rated carriers. So ones that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, Progressive, Allstate, Liberty Mutual, companies like that. We do work with some other local companies, but I think the big benefit of working with me is just that, in today's market, it's hard to find insurance that is affordable. So I shop everywhere. I do it quickly. And so, I mean, I can find you the best deal on the market, really, and while also educating you at the same time. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Well, so what made you decide that this is what you want to do?
Yeah, so I actually used to be in staffing and recruiting. So I guess I was selling people, selling positions, jobs, things like that. And I really loved it. I actually ran into this opportunity kind of on accident looking for a recruiting job. So, yeah, I wound up interviewing for both the recruiting position and then the sales position that I'm in now. I got both. But I had never really considered selling insurance. And when I started to think about it, I'm like, I would, it's something that I believe in. I really like to save people money. I have been, there were a couple years where I was pinching pennies and, I hate insurance. I just got stuck selling it. That's what I like to say. But I mean, that's kind of how I got here. Not necessarily on purpose, but I really did believe in what I was selling, and I still obviously do. So that's what got me here, and that's why I really like it. I'm always saving people money.
Wow. Wow. So you are the couponer of insurance, sounds like.
Yes, yes, you could say that. Yeah.
So we're excited to have you. So I wanted to kind of jump in, and I love to hear people talk because I'm learning too as a real estate agent, and it helps me stay abreast of the information as I'm dealing with clients. So can you please explain to me the primary purpose of home insurance, of homeowners insurance?
Yes. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many reasons why you need to have homeowners insurance. I mean, for one, it just more than anything provides financial protection, against any losses or damages to your home. We're in Texas. We experience at just about everything. We've got the hurricanes down in Houston. We've got tornadoes here in DFW, hail across the board. So, when those things happen, I mean, insurance is really handy. So you really need homeowners insurance. And then on top of that, I mean, just about every policy offers liability coverage. So, if you do find yourself in a lawsuit situation, you have some coverage there. You don't have to pay out of pocket. There have been, I mean, I've heard of crazy situations, people not having enough insurance or not having insurance at all, and they get sued, and it's like, I don't have $1 million for this, So having homeowners insurance is very helpful for situations like that as well.
Wow, wow.
Mhm.
You kind of jumped into something that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to pause the question because that's really on my mind there. Now,
hmm
how does home insurance differ from renters insurance?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of just as it sounds. So, homeowners insurance is for homeowners, and then renters is for renters. So, essentially, homeowners, the reason why it's way more expensive is because you're not only, insuring your personal property inside the home, but you're
Mhm,
insuring the building itself and then
mhm,
everything on your property. So not just your house, but also your garage, anything detached, so carports,
mhm.
fences, things like that. And then it also comes with that liability that I had mentioned. But renters is just, it's really only personal property. So you're just protecting the things in your apartment or in your home that you're renting out. Now there is, if you're renting out to someone, if you have a house that you're renting out to someone, that's a separate deal. So if you have that, that's considered a landlord or a dwelling policy.
Okay.
And with those are just protecting the building itself.
Mhm.
So, the two go hand in hand, but homeowners is definitely, a bigger thing.
What should people look for when they're trying to decide on what type of policy they should go with?
Yeah. So, I mean, it definitely depends on the area you're in. So, if you it's kind of tough to figure that out. It totally depends on the person, but if you're in an area where it hails a lot, like here in North Texas, you
Mhm,
might want to find a policy with like lower deductibles. So when you do have to replace that roof, you're not paying so much money out of pocket. You're
mhm.
paying like maybe 1% of the replacement cost of your home instead of two, three, four, five. So I mean that's one way to decide on, the type of policy you want. Not only that, but if you have a lot of assets, if you're a high profile individual, you're going to want a policy with a lot of liability coverage.
Wow.
So just depends on the person, depends on the location. I mean, are you more price focused, more coverage focused? Totally depends.
Wow, very good, very good. Now, how can homeowner insurance protect you financially in the
Mhm.
event of a natural disaster?
Yeah. So, in every policy, so there's a couple of different policy forms. Each one of them covers different things, but every single one of them covers wind, fire, and I believe it's theft is another one. So, like for example, the California wildfires, all of those people over there, if they have insurance and it hasn't been canceled, non-renewed, anything like that, they will all be covered for the wildfires. So that's one of those things that I think insurance does a really good job of covering for fires. But if you're, in a like Houston area, a lot of lenders won't let you close without getting flood insurance. So
Mhm.
flood insurance is a completely separate line of business that you'd have to buy on top of homeowners. Homeowners doesn't cover flood or earthquake. So that's worth noting. Some people don't realize that and just
Wow.
buy a home policy and they're like, oh, I'll be fine if a hurricane comes through. But you do have to have a separate flood and earthquake policy.
Wow. That's very good to know. That's very good to know.
Mhm.
Wow. That's very good to know there. So how do you determine the appropriate amount of coverage for a
Sorry, can
how
you
do you,
repeat that?
how do you determine the amount of coverage for your home?
Yeah. So typically, for starters, you start off with the dwelling coverage. So that is just the replacement cost of your home. So not necessarily market value, but just how much it would cost to build your house from the ground up if it just got totally destroyed. So the materials of the home. So every carrier will have a different replacement cost estimator, and it's this whole underwriting system that comes up with an amount, what they think it would cost to replace your home. So you don't have too much of a choice in that, but you can always go higher than that amount. So if they think the replacement cost is 300,000, but you want it extra covered, you can endorse extra coverage on that if you want to get up to 400 or 500,000. So that's one of the things that you can do. You can also change some of the other coverages. If you think you have more personal property than what they've quoted you, you can ask for that, especially for people with just lots of stuff. Furniture, if you have a lot of nice clothes, you might want to bump up your personal property coverage. So it just depends. The more risks you have or the more things you have, the more coverage you should always have.
Wow. Wow. So that really answers my next question. So there is a difference between replacement costs and the actual value of in
Yes.
terms of the homeowner's insurance. Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
you can have like $1 million policy, but to replace that
Mhm.
home may only cost 100,000. So they only will give you
Mhm.
that 100,000 to be able to replace your home.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of people I know I do a lot of work in Dallas,
Mhm.
and we all know how expensive land is here. So if there's like a home in Highland Park, just a regular home, they go up for they can go up for $1 million, just a regular standard house. That's the land value. But when you're looking at how, the materials that went into making that house,
Mhm.
probably closer to like 400 or 500,000. So that's what the replacement cost would likely be.
Wow.
It just depends on the area.
Wow, that's very good to know. Are there
Mhm.
certain exclusions or situations that aren't covered under a standard homeowner's policy?
Yeah. So, like I said, flood and earthquake aren't covered. There are some things that you have to endorse, like foundation coverage is one of the things that you have to endorse. Sometimes water coverages, so like water damage, seepage and leakage, anything to do with your plumbing system, you usually have to add onto the policy, endorse. So there are a bunch of things that don't come with the standard policy. It kind of just depends on which form you choose, basic, broad, or special.
Mhm.
So, they're all going to cover different perils, so causes of loss. But endorsements are the way to go. If you feel like you're not being insured enough, if you look at the quote and you feel like, I could use some extra coverage in this area or I don't have this, there's always an endorsement available.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, are there certain areas or certain situations or areas that you can move in? Let me rephrase
Hmm.
the question. Are there certain areas that you can move in, and they will say, "Well, we just don't insure that area for that amount," or you're moving in the area that it's unfair for us to insure? I was watching something today. Maybe I'm answering my own question, but they were saying that some of the insurance companies have started to back off of certain areas because at the end of the day, if they stand and say that they insure you, they're willing to say they don't mind losing money. So are there
Hmm.
like certain areas that you've noticed where they may say that, hey, this area is prone to this, and because of that, we can't do this?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And while we're on the topic of the California wildfires, that's
Mhm.
a huge thing right now. So a lot of companies will just back out of certain zip codes or certain areas if they know, bad things are happening. So
Mhm.
I can guarantee, once a lot of these policies in LA renew or upon renewal, they will, they probably won't be renewed in all honesty. Or there's just going to be a lot less product out there. So definitely, if you're in a wildfire risk zone, a flood zone, anything like that, you might have to go in the direction of, you might not get to be with a standard carrier like Allstate or Progressive or any of those big names. You might have to go with what we like to call a surplus lines carrier. So um, I would just say those carriers have more financial backing. They're willing to take in these risks. Some of these big carriers that have millions of clients can't take on that many risks financially, or they'll go under. So yes, and especially in like north of Dallas, so Collin County, Denton County, where you see a lot of tornadoes, there's not a lot of product out there because of that.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
That's good to know. Now, we mentioned California a little bit, and we know that, like we say, we don't know the extent of the damages. It's going to take years to probably know just how
Hmm.
much that the area lost as far as financially. Now, there are some people that still had policies. And so we know that the insurance companies will have to cover, some of those homes. Now, do you
Hmm.
think that them covering those homes and taking a loss, substantial loss like that, will it affect um, across the board all over America? Because if they're going to take a cut over here, they're going to have to
Hmm.
adjust somewhere. What do you think about that?
I absolutely think that's true. I think they're going to have to raise prices of everybody's insurance across the board. And I know that's not good news for anybody. But I mean, some of these carriers, just the big name ones, like the ones that I've mentioned, don't have, they already have so many millions of clients that
Mhm.
those wildfires are just going to, it's going to force a giant raise in these prices. So that's
Mhm.
probably what we're going to see, unfortunately. And we've had a lot of this stuff happen in the last year, the wildfires, multiple hurricanes, like hurricanes that hit really hard, in fact.
Mhm.
And then just so many things happening. So I mean, I hate to say it, but insurance rates are going to go up for that reason.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Gotcha. So, how can homeowners insurance protect against liability issues? Because now I got a story for everything. Okay, here's a story. I was on Facebook, and I noticed a person was driving for a delivery company, and he got bit by a dog. And as he was delivering the package, and people were commenting, "You should sue the homeowners, go after their homeowners insurance." So,
Hmm.
how can homeowners insurance protect someone against a liability issue?
Yeah, so just the same way that they can sue, the person, or the other person can sue the homeowner for, I guess you could maybe call it negligence, just having their dog running around.
Mhm.
That person, if they do have a homeowner's policy with liability protection, they can do that as well. They can sue, but I mean, the liability protection is covering the homeowner. So that homeowner, if they do get sued, they're going to have, and it usually goes in. It's usually the least you can do is like $100,000 in liability coverage. I mean, you can go really high. I usually see 300 and $500,000 in liability protection. So yeah, if anyone is injured on your property, so someone slips and falls at a party or something, and you're responsible, then they can sue you, but your insurance will help you in that moment if you have enough of the protection.
That's good. I had
Hmm.
another question. So, as we were talking about finance, and it may be a possible increase, we don't know yet, but you can kind of feel that it's probably going to be an
Hmm.
increase. What steps can homeowners do to reduce their insurance premium?
Yeah. So now more than ever is the perfect time to shop around. So using brokers such as myself to see, if you're in the best spot or if we can put you with a better option, that's the first step. But if there really are no better options out there and you're just stuck in your current policy, then I mean, there are so many directions you can take. For one, the older your roof is, the more expensive your insurance is going to be. So that's where I tell my clients to always start. If you're going to do anything, replace your roof. Make sure it's, under 10 years old, because once you get to that 10-year brink is when you're seeing crazy rates like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 a year. So start with the roof.
Mhm.
Any like security devices, like any clients with fire alarms that connect to local authorities or burglar alarms that do the same thing will probably get a pretty massive discount. So that's a way that you can save. I mean, there are so many things that you can do. Anything just to make your house less risky.
So, that was very, very good. So, I want to piggyback off of that. I want to ask another question
Hmm.
because I deal with a lot of first time home buyers. What should they be looking for when they're trying to, when they're speaking with a home owner's insurance or broker? What should
Hmm.
they be looking for as a first time home buyer instead of just looking for the rate? Because so often
Hmm.
they're trying to get the rate as small as as low as they can so that they can be able to get approved for that mortgage
Yes.
at the last ending part of closing. What should they be looking for in the fine prints to be able to help them make sure that they're making a great decision?
Yes. So, on top of the rates, which seem to be a pretty hot topic right now, look into
Mhm.
the deductibles. I have a lot of first time home buyers as well, and they're very price conscious because I mean, buying a house is already so expensive. So a lot of them will say higher deductibles is good with me. That is where I think a lot of people make a mistake, because you might think you're making a good investment, but when you wind up having to pay out, you know, 12 grand for something before insurance kicks in, sometimes insurance doesn't even get to kick in because you have such a high deductible. So I always tell people to start with the deductible. It's more important than a lot of people think it is, because everybody just assumes, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm fine as long as I have the cheapest insurance rates. Um, that's one thing to look out for. If you know of any, pre-existing conditions in your home, like maybe foundation's not wonderful, or there have been plumbing issues in the past, definitely ask your insurance agent or broker about that. What they can do to prevent anything from happening in the future. So, adding on water damage coverage or foundation coverage or something like that. Just make sure that it's, tailoring to your needs.
Very good. That's a very good
Mhm.
question.
Mhm.
Now, how often should they review their homeowner's insurance policy?
Yeah, so I would say every year, about a month before your renewal kicks in or your policy expires, you'll probably get something in the mail or in your inbox about the price changing. It always changes. So definitely look into that. If it's something that you can't afford, it's better to be on top of it early rather than later, because if we got to put you with a surplus lines carrier or just a carrier outside of the standard market, it might take a little bit longer. Um, on top of that, I would say if you have any major changes in your life, if you get married, you need to definitely look into another policy. You never
Mhm,
know if how your spouse, how
mhm,
their
mhm,
insurance score or anything like that could impact insurance premiums.
mhm,
I mean, there any major changes in life, really. That's
mhm.
probably where I'd start.
Wow. Okay. Got you. So, do you review policies if they're not with your company? Like, if I have homeowners insurance and I'm thinking about making a change, are you able to look at someone else's policy
Mhm.
and maybe show them how they can make a difference? You can maybe get their rates a little bit better for them.
Yeah, so I have a lot of clients who like to do that. I had one today ask me, she said, I like my policy, but I'm wondering what a rate would look like if I added this
Hmm.
coverage. So we looked into that. I shopped her around with my carriers, and then we saw the price difference. It was pretty standard across the board. So I think it was like a couple $100 difference. So we looked into that. I have a lot of clients that ask for that. So I can definitely review current policies as well and, educate, advise.
Now, is there anything that someone can do to make their home more disaster resistant to be able to support better homeowners insurance?
Yeah. So there are so many really cool devices that you can put on your home to help with that. They also help lower the price. Any way to make your house less risky is going to lower the price. So storm shutters is a big thing if you're in a hurricane prone area. Um, I would also say hail resistant roof. So if you have a metal roof that does classify as a hail resistant roof,
Hmm.
things like that, hail resistant windows, that's also a thing. So there are tons of devices like that out there. Again, just anything to make your house less risky, I would say. And another thing is when you're working with a broker, we always ask about those things. What kind of protections do you have on your home? And we
Hmm.
apply those discounts.
Hmm.
So insurance is aware of that as well. It makes a big
Awesome.
difference. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. So just give us a little pause here. If you're just joining in, I am Tawanda Fisher. I'm a realtor in DFW area. I specialize in first-time home buyers, veterans, residential, and commercial. And I have Miss Avery here, Miss Avery Dean, and she is a homeowners broker that assists with making sure that you get great homeowners insurance coverage. And so we're just so glad for you tuning in. Don't forget to like and share the live. Tell us a fun fact about yourself as we give a little break here.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, a fun fact. I don't know if I have any. Let's see. Oh man, I don't know. I Let me think. I used to run track. That was
Okay.
my thing growing up. I miss it so much. I don't even run anymore. But I guess probably the coolest thing that I've ever gotten to do was I ran um, for nationals for the junior Olympics 4 years in a row. So that
Mhm.
was pretty fun. I think
Mhm.
that's probably the coolest thing I've ever done. So what about what about you? Gonna
Well,
put you on the spot.
let's see. I went hiking 2 weeks ago for the first time. I just went. I had so much fun. And there was this little dog that was on the trail. The trail kept getting higher and higher, then steeper and steeper. And everywhere that I turned, there was this little dog on a leash, walking with his owners, just going, 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 going. And so I wanted to give up so bad. And I looked down at the dog. I said, "So you just gonna show out like this?" And he was my little motivator to go up, to go up the mountain. So that's one of the most fun, the best things that I've done in a long time, just for myself, just getting out there.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, I wanted to know: are there any discounts available for homeowners who may be in like different fraternities, different organizations? They may be a student, military.
Hmm.
Are there any type of discounts that they maybe could get?
Yeah. So the brokerage I work for, actually, one of the questions that we ask all of our clients is highest level of education and current occupation, because for certain, for one, anyone with a master's is going to get a pretty big discount most of the time. Shows that you were consistent in one way or another. occupations. Some occupations do give out a discount, blue collar workers, people in the medical field,
Mhm.
people in real estate as well.
Okay.
And then military, of course, military gets the biggest discount, and they deserve it.
Mhm.
On top of that, I would say, I guess it depends on the company. If you work for, like if you're getting a quote from like Farmers, for example, and you work for one of their affiliates, or one of just really anything, you'll get a discount if you're affiliated with them really at all.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of good student discounts. We do that. So, especially for auto insurance, I know that's a completely different thing, but student discounts as well. Sometimes there are first time home buyer discounts just to kind of alleviate all of that. But there are so many. And then, of course, so many discounts for any protective devices.
Now, I have a question that came in from social media from Facebook. It's from Joanne Stacker. Congratulations, Miss Joanne. I saw your wedding
Oh.
information on Facebook. Congratulations. She says, is fire coverage usually included in a basic comprehensive insurance policy? Is fire
Yes.
coverage usually included?
Yes. So even the most basic policy you could get, they will always have fire. Fire is the one thing that stays consistent no matter what. So whether that's a wildfire, a fire starting in your home, electric fire, any of that, that's covered.
Okay, gotcha. Now, Miss Watson, she's an educator with a master's degree. She says, are differences in insurance policies typically expensive if a certain coverage is not offered?
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, she says, are differences in insurance policies typically expensive if a certain coverage is not offered?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on the coverage, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, there are a couple that will make a pretty big difference in the cost. So personal property is one of those ones. If you bump it up and bump it up and bump it up, you're going to see a pretty big difference in the price because, I mean, you can only really bump it up uh, you know, in tens of thousands. So if that makes sense, but like if you're adding a water damage coverage or jewelry coverage, something like that, it probably won't bump up the price a whole lot. Maybe like 20, 30, $40 for the entire premium. So there are certain things that we don't see a big change in. It just again totally depends. If you up your dwelling coverage, covering the home, you're going to see a huge difference. Same with the deductibles.
Right. I agree. Now, here's another comment. She says, as a new homeowner, my escrow budget played a major factor in
Hmm.
insurance selections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, what was that?
She says, as a new homeowner, my escrow budget played a major factor in insurance selection. I think we talked about that.
Hmm.
Not being so, because I notice a lot of times that their budget, it'll say that they're trying to
Hmm.
stay under a certain cost. And so it's very
Yes.
important to know what I need to let go in the insurance and what is it that I really
Mm.
need to keep. Because, like you say, something may come up and you may very well need what you let go of.
Yeah. So, yeah, that definitely does make a huge difference. I work with a lot of lenders myself to help their clients close. And sometimes they do have those pretty tight budgets. They give me a loan amount and then I have to match it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, what we usually do, and going back to what I said earlier, deductibles make the biggest difference in the price. So sometimes, just to get them in that first period of the, insurance policy being in place, we might up the deductibles a little bit. But then as time goes on, you want to lower them if you can. So that's one place that we can start. But things that would be, I guess, less important than others, in my opinion, and it just depends on, what you've got going on. But for me personally, I don't have a whole lot of assets. So
Mhm.
when I eventually have a home, I probably won't protect a whole lot of personal property. I'll probably put that coverage a little bit lower than the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I also have some friends in plumbing, so I might not invest a whole lot into some of the water coverages.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it kind of just depends on your situation. But if you're tight, if you're a new home buyer and you're tight on your finances, definitely just don't add endorsements. The
Mm-hmm.
things that are on the policy default are things that you need. So keep those. You can lower some things, but just don't add any endorsements if you don't have to, or, if you don't have the funds to, I guess.
I got you. I got you. You say a lot about endorsements, so that's
Mhm.
like maybe in layman's term, like an addendum, something like that that you're adding to it.
Yes. So, what comes with, and I should have said this right off the bat, but what comes with your standard homeowner's insurance is going to be, like I said, dwelling, your other structures, so garages, detached buildings, anything like that, personal property. And then there are a couple of liability factors. So, if you're wanting to cover anything aside from just the structure of the home and the things inside, those would all be endorsements. So if you're wanting to be covered for another peril that you don't typically see, you might want to do that. So I'm trying to think of an example. Foundation coverage is a big one. We don't always see. Seepage and leakage is also one. So if there are pipes in in your walls, ceilings, and they start to, um, you know, if it starts to leak into the walls, things like that, that can get really messy really quick. That's an endorsement. And I typically only see my clients adding that on after they've had a bad experience with it. So they're very specific niche items that people can add on if they want, if they feel like they would be at risk for something.
Awesome. I got you. Now, I wanted to know now, we get homeowners insurance with the hope that we will never have to use it, okay? However, when we say we're not going to have to, we say we won't have to use it, we usually will.
Mhm.
So, what does the process look like when filing for a claim?
Yes. So, what you do is you pretty much just call your insurance company. Well, before you even call them, look at your declarations pages. So, the policy document itself. Make sure that you're covered for whatever you're inquiring about. Because if you do call the insurance right off the bat, say you want to make a claim, then they could report that you made a claim, even if it was an inquiry. And then that affects your insurance score moving forward, making your premiums even higher. So if you're not sure if something's covered and you want to make a claim, look at your policy documents first. Just make sure you look at those before anything else. Or you can call a broker like myself. If you call me inquiring about something, I'm not going to, I can't raise your prices. I'm a broker. So those are the first two steps I'd take before even filing a claim. But filing a claim is very easy. Most insurance companies will give you a phone number or an email, again, on the policy documents, or, um, on their website, their portal, whatever it may be. All you got to do is call, explain what happened. You will more than likely have to provide documentation. If it's a huge loss, they might have people come out and assess the damages, just kind of see what costs are going to be required there. So for some losses, it can be a very long process. But for, like, roof damage, hail damage, that might be an easier one. So ones that they see often aren't going to take very long, but it's just a simple call in, explain what happened, provide documentation, and then you hear back very, very soon after.
But do not call before you want. Okay, gotcha.
I would be just careful about that, because I had a client not too long ago who, I looked at her record, her insurance record, that is, and there are certain carriers, if you weren't aware of this, that if you make enough claims in a, like, 5-year, 2-year period, they won't they will not cover you at all, because think, oh, this guy is going to make 1,000,001 claims this next year if we insure them. So, yeah, I had a client not too long ago who 3 of her claims were just her asking the insurance company if they would cover. She called into the sorry, excuse me, the claims line and asked if they were going to cover her for whatever it was.
Wow.
Obviously they didn't pay out, but it affected her insurance score very badly because she wasn't aware of that. And most people aren't aware of that. I wasn't aware of that until I started in the industry.
Wow, that's very good. So you have to watch how many
Mhm.
times people are you listening? Watch how many times you pick up the phone and just simply call the insurance company just for an answer because they are logging and they're keeping record of it. So that brings me to my next question. I think you may have already answered it, but in what type of situations can a person's policy be renewed, be non-renewed, or canceled?
Yeah. So the most common is for non-renewal or canceled is non-payment. If you don't pay the company, then they have the rights to cancel or non-renew you. Sometimes insurance companies will need certain documentation, like maybe photos of the outside of the home or proof that you have security devices. If you never turn those in, you probably won't have your policy canceled, but you will more than likely not be renewed with them. If you are in an area subject to a lot of natural disasters, they might non renew you the next time, probably won't cancel. But with a lot of those people in California, they'll probably have to be shopping around this next period because they will more than likely not be renewed. So situations like that, some carriers will just back out of certain zip codes if there have been too many losses, too many claims filed. So just kind of depends on what's going on in the world, depends on economic things, depends on your neighbors, what they're up to, natural disasters, things like that.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Mhm.
does the age and condition of the home um, hurt homeowners coverage?
Oh yes, yeah. So, I mean, the older your home, if it's in great condition, that's one thing. But if your home is showing signs of, major wear and tear,
Mhm.
then your insurance is just going to be pricier because it's these companies are spending a lot to insure a property that might not be around for too much longer or is just falling apart. So
Mhm.
age of the home is definitely a factor. But again, depends on the area. If you're in an area where all the homes were built in the 50s but they're all doing well, no one's filing claims, then you probably won't see a huge increase in your rates. But the biggest thing, and I've mentioned this already, is age of the roof. Age of the roof is huge. You want to make sure that your roof isn't too old. And when I say too old, older than 10 years, because at that point, I mean, it is weak. It's way weaker than it was before. Not only does it have cosmetic damage, which isn't a huge deal, but it has functional damage. And yeah, that's one of the big things for sure.
Okay, I have a few more questions. You've been doing good in the hot seat today.
Thank you.
So, what advice would you give to a first-time homeowner regarding insurance?
Yes. So I have, like I said, lots of clients that are first time home buyers who just, aren't really aware of the costs that come with buying insurance. And reason I say that is because it's just so crazy in today's world. Talk to your lenders. They will more than likely, have estimates ready for you. If you ask them how much the insurance typically is in that area, or ask a broker. We have, actual statistics that we work with. So just ask about the price before you buy a home, because who knows if you want to buy a home in, I don't know, say Frisco, you're going to be paying a lot for the homeowner's insurance and you may not even know it, but you want to be aware of what areas are going to be expensive rather than inexpensive. On top of that, I also encourage first time home buyers to contact a broker like me to do a clue report. So what that is it looks at past damages on the home. So I can just run a quote real quick and see what, if anyone made claims on the home, because that will impact the price of the homeowner's insurance. That's the first step to just making sure that you're getting as cheap as possible insurance, really. But on top of that, I guess other advice, I mean, protect your home. If you're buying a home in today's market, you've clearly, you're doing something right. So you should be proud of that. You should be proud to protect your home, get the protective devices, security cameras, and all. So that's another piece of advice I'd give.
That's it. I think that Miss Stacker, she put in the comment that she says insurance tips that she's learned: update the roof, security system, and renovations. Very good, very good. Good
Yes.
job.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, how can my audience get in touch with you?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I don't know how we'd go about this, but I have digital business cards, things like that. I'm super present on social media. So I have my Facebook account and everything. I also have an Instagram for my insurance business. So any of those methods of communication are good with me. I'm very reachable through my phone. And I can also put that out there at some point as well.
Absolutely. And I'm going to reach out to you and get a copy of your digital card, as well as any information.
Yes, yeah.
Happy to share it on my social media for you. And so I just want to personally thank you for stopping by and helping me get more information out to people. I sell homes I sell homes in the DFW area. And I want people to buy homes. I want them to sell homes, but I also want them to buy and sell with the knowledge that they need. And
Hmm.
so
Yes.
I've been in real estate for a number of years now, and that's just the main thing. The focus point is making sure that when we buy homes and when we're in the home buying process or selling process, that we have the information that we need to make those conscious, great decisions, because home buying is an investment. And so you want to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck. So I'm just grateful that you stopped by. And I will put your information out. And if you guys want to reach out to her, you can go to my social media page. It will be there. You can also look her up on Avery Dean on all social media platforms. And thank you so much for stopping by and chilling with Avery and myself. I may bring her back. She did very good. She was in the hot seat. She endured about 40 questions for 45 minutes, and I was throwing them at her, and you guys were throwing it. And I thank you so much for being in the comments, dropping her comments and questions, because we all need encouragement. And just thank you so much, Ms. Dean, for stopping by. Until next time, I'm Tawanda Fisher, your real estate bestie for DFW. You guys have a wonderful night.